JD, I'm the opinion page editor. Tonight we're going to hear from 4 different local and state races. We'll do candidates for Berkeley mayor, and then we're going to have arguments about Measure R, Measure S, and Proposition 30. 2 minutes to respond to each question. So I'll ask the question, and then we'll just go down the line. And we'll switch it up who starts first every time. If another candidate mentions you specifically by name, then you will have time for a 30-second rebuttal.
Do we get to make an opening?
Yeah, let's just do a brief 30-second introduction for each of you, just to acquaint yourselves with the audience.
We get 2 minutes.
1 minute. Let's do 1 minute. Okay, so let's start down at the end with Bernd Wall.
Bernd. I'm Bernd Wall. I teach entrepreneurship for engineers here, so if any of you want to start a company or do something in business, feel free to contact me. I'm running for a couple of reasons. One of them is to help the business in the downtown because I think some of it has been neglected over the years, and also to work closer with the university. We have a lot of talent here, a lot of brilliant minds, and if we can incorporate and use those resources, I think we can improve the city of Berkeley. I've lived here for 20 years, and I think this is a great school, and you guys are all very privileged to go here. And I'm even more privileged to be able to teach here.
Thank you.
All right, my name is Khalil Jacobs-Fantanuzzi. I represent a new face, a new vision, new solutions for our city. Obviously, as a young man of color, my experience in our city has been different. I actually came to this city to attend the University of California at Berkeley. I've been a teacher for 20 years, and there's a lot of issues that concern me in terms of issues of disparity. Our city has one of the highest rates where there's the wealthy and the poor people living in one city, but yet a lot of the resources of our city are not distributed fairly. So in my neighborhood in South Berkeley, for example, we had a double homicide that kind of woke me up to the challenges of issues of violence in our community. For example, in our school system, African American students are actually scoring less than students in Oakland Unified School District. So it's my idea to run on a platform that represents students, that represents the people of Berkeley, and that appreciates the beauty and the diversity of the city, but really wanting to make sure that we do right by all the communities and not just by certain communities. So we have a city that is
to be endorsed by the Cal Berkeley Democrats and East Bay Young Democrats and the Stonewall Democrats and a list of 14 organizations now and growing. But you shouldn't vote for me because I have all those endorsements. It's time for a mayor who will actually include the entire community of Berkeley. It's time for a mayor who will appoint a fair share of students. Students make up 25% of the entire city of Berkeley, and they have never in 20 years had a fair share of appointments to important city commissions. It's also time for Asians, Latinos, and African Americans to get a fair share, because they have also not had a fair share. It's time to fix the parking citation process and administrative citation dysfunctionality of city government. If you want to have economic development, you have to address parking and parking citations. It's time.
That's all the time you have for now.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tom Bates, and I'm the current mayor, and I'm a graduate at the university, and I've been the mayor. I've been working on a number of issues, a lot of the major issues of our day. I've been working on trying to deal with the health disparity and also the achievement gap in our schools. And I'm proud to say that the students of the University of California through the CalCorp actually have now, through over 300 students are now working in that program. In fact, that program now employs more students than any other program on the campus, so I'm very proud of the fact that we took it from something, and we're getting great results. We're seeing kids learning to read, we're seeing kids reading at grade level after 6 months, and after a year, 40% of the kids are doing great. I'm also very much involved in climate change and global warming. I want to make sure that one city can show the way that we can actually make a difference around global warming and climate change. And lastly, about jobs. I'm really pushing jobs in my campaign, and I'm also outreaching to people. So Brent mentions a little bit about that. We're working with the university, bringing people together, starting to have opportunities for startups, and for people to go to scale and be able to exist in Berkeley.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline McCormick. I'm a neighborhood activist. I started Berkeley Council Watch, and I'm a member of Berkeley Budget SOS. I believe Berkeley can be better. And what I believe and want for Berkeley is, one, I want policies that are made for the city to come from the people who live here, not come from the top. I want greater transparency in our budget. I want greater transparency, and I want to ensure that decisions that are made are not being influenced by special interest groups. 3, I want to ensure that we as a community don't fall off a financial cliff and begin to set a plan together that will keep us sustainable into the future. And 4th, I really want to partner with the university and the brain trust that exists here to put us on a path for the future, to get new ideas, to grasp new ideas and technology, to create a future for Berkeley that can be sustainable. And it's only through new minds and new ideas and not doing the same things that have been done over and over again for the last 40 years that we're going to be able to move forward as a community. And we need you to get that done. Thanks.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you each 4 questions. You'll get 2 minutes to respond to each question. Anjali, the assistant opinion editor, is sitting in the back. She'll raise her hand twice, once at the 1-minute mark and once at the 30-minute mark. Anjali, can you raise your hand?
30 seconds.
Sorry, 30 seconds.
30 minutes, we'll be here for a minute.
And if a candidate mentions you specifically by name in their response, you will get time for a 30-second rebuttal of their remark when they're done speaking.
Does the incumbent count his name?
Yes, yeah, that will count. Okay, so first question is, how do you plan on involving students at UC Berkeley in city government? What kind of a role could and should they play? And on that note, do you support the idea of a student city council member? So we'll start with Jack.
Great. I know a lot of you are working very hard in having a student council member, but I don't think that's enough because, as Kriss said, students consume 25% of the population of Berkeley. Students need to be involved and have the ability to set policy within our city. And in doing so, I want to propose that we have a student commission, a student advisory commission that has the ability to set policy and propose policy to city council. I also want to ensure that we have, in addition to the 9 members that sit on city commissions, that we have 1 student and 1 faculty member on every single commission in the city. And those city commissions are really tasked with things that are proactive and that can get things done. I am not supporting Measure R for the following reason. People should pick their leaders. Leaders should not pick the people who they represent. Measure R is in direct opposition to Proposition 40, which is on the statewide ballot, which ensures that a citizens commission establishes district lines. I would be very happy with that if Measure R included that program. But to have city council be able to, at their discretion, draw council lines is essentially, I believe, gerrymandering. And essentially being able to force their own policies and procedures. You all were involved, many of you were involved in producing maps that were a citizen process over a year ago. All of them would have worked. They were disregarded by council and they were put aside so they could draw the council lines. That is not a community process. We need to have community processes on an ongoing basis. And that's why I can't support Measure R. But I definitely support having students involved in our government, and I would be very happy to have a student council member.
Thank you. Mayor Bates.
Well, first of all, I want to correct some things. First of all, every city, every county in California that I know of is appointed, they reapportion themselves, they do it themselves. They don't have a commission. I mean, the state established a process where they went through this whole big long process of collecting people and selecting a group that would do the reapportionment for the state legislature. They did that reapportionment. That was supported heavily by the Republicans. They said, this is what we want. Once it passed and they didn't like it, now Proposition 40 does just the opposite of what was just described. Proposition 40 says that they want to throw out what the commission has written. So, it's not going to happen. Okay, second of all, I strongly support Measure R, contrary to the last person, because Proposition R provides the real opportunity for us to have a student really elected or somebody representing the campus area really elected. And if you want to have a student government, you want to have student involved, you need a student there. So you need a student voting. You need a student who's actually sitting on the dais, not just advising or doing some policy work. Now, I have engaged in my office students, and they work in my office. I have appointed students to various commissions and councils, and I'll continue to do that. I just appointed another one last week. So students need to be involved. And if I'm reelected, or when I'm reelected, I'm going to continue to outreach for people. But Measure R is the key. Measure R provides us the opportunity to get away from arbitrary lines that were established in 1986 and draw lines that can actually come up with a district, a student, and somebody from the campus can actually win.
Okay, Kriss?
Well, I've already appointed over 100 students to city commissions, including the most powerful, most important commissions like the Police Review Commission, the Zoning Board, and the Planning Commission. In fact, it was my student planning commissioner who made the motion to allow late-night business hours in the Telegraph area and changed the long ossified city of Berkeley policy. I've also worked very hard to get students elected. There have been 8 students elected to serve on the Rent Stabilization Board, and a majority of them have served as my commissioner or my intern before they were able to run for office. That is why the injustice of not getting students a fair share of appointments really matters, because once I appointed them to their commission, like Howard Chong was on the Solid Waste Commission, people saw what a great job he did, and they wanted him to run for the Rent Board. Mona Patel, all the students who get elected serve on a commission first to get the experience and to get their name recognition. But beyond getting students on the commission, I also was the first council member to propose and support in writing over a year and a half ago that we should put a student district on the ballot. And when students came in August of 2011, long before anybody else was talking about putting it on the ballot and doing it the legally right way, I put in writing and handed it out to all the new students that I met, trying to recruit them to get involved, that we needed to put it on the ballot. Because at that point, other people were saying, well, let's just pass a student district under some formula that we come up with. And that was not legally possible. So that's why I was the first one who said, let's put it on the ballot. I was for Measure R before it was Measure R. Additionally, I can see there are qualified, talented students, the brain drain of city government, where we are throwing away the Asian, Latino, African-American brains and student brains. They not only deserve to be on commissions, but also, like, why not have them run the mayor's office as chief of staff?